Godzilla Minus One. So if you're a big stinky turd like me, you didn't see Godzilla Minus One in the theater, even though everybody told you it was really good. You waited until it hit streaming so that you didn't have to leave the house and interface with teenagers trying to sell you a second mortgage. I mean, popcorn. Since you did watch it though, you'll be thrilled to know that I, a person on the internet whom you do not know, agrees with you, and that the movie is really good. If you got lost on YouTube and somehow ended up on my video, Godzilla Minus One is the latest Japanese Godzilla film. Unlike the American versions, which are toy commercials for children, this is a real-ass movie, and I'm gonna review it because I only just saw it, so it's new to me. Review. I don't want to go too deep into the plot on this one. It's a Godzilla movie, which means you basically know the plot already. Godzilla breaks some shit and all the human characters learn some lessons along the way. Yeah, that is a really reductive way to describe a film series that's old enough to have grandchildren, but just because something is simple doesn't mean it's bad, so let's kick this thing off. A World War II Japanese fighter pilot chickens out of his kamikaze mission and encounters baby Godzilla. The monster is contextualized as an urban legend of a specific island and portrayed more like a wrathful ocean lizard spirit rather than the ancient prophesized American version. The pilot, Koichi Shikishima, is our main character and chickens out a second time, getting a bunch of mechanics killed. So he goes back to a destroyed Tokyo, and Koichi shacks up with a drifter girl, Noriko, and her baby. The baby isn't theirs or anything, she just happened to find it, so the three of them do their best to repair their lives in the wake of World War II Japan. And this is the beginning of the theme of the film, Japanese people rebuilding and trying to move forward from the war. So Koichi gets a job detonating sea mines to make the Japanese coastline safe again. We get some dramatic scenes between Koichi and Noriko, we meet Koichi's friends from work, eventually time jumping a couple of years to when everybody's lives have settled down a little. This section where things chill out for a bit is by far the slowest part of the film and where all of my problems with it come from. These scenes of Koichi talking about his shame and trauma are very dramatic and honestly don't really work for me. Look, I'm aware of my bias as an American. I grew up with a certain kind of media, but something about the way Japanese dialogue is written and performed just doesn't resonate with me. I was going to include some clips here from anime or something to prove my point, but if you've seen any of this kind of stuff, I think you know what I'm talking about. Everyone has to say exactly how they feel at all times and have these big physical demonstrations of their emotion that just come off as kind of silly. I know this is pretty biased, and if anyone has an explanation as to why Japanese media is so melodramatic, go ahead and let me know in the comments. This is not a fair criticism, but the performances and dialogue still lack any kind of subtlety, and the pace of the first act does suffer for it. The first hour and change are bogged down explaining how Koichi is still haunted by his past and establishing how the characters are all doing their part to return normalcy to their lives and to Japan. This is very necessary for where the film ends up going with its story, but it does make it hard to engage with the film for a while. After a montage and time jump, we get a quick acknowledgement that Godzilla was either hit with a nuclear weapon or maybe just absorbed its energy, but it's not super clear. And this is a very strange moment. Godzilla is shown very briefly to be affected by a nuclear weapon, which I guess gave it some extra monster juice or something, because the next time we see Godzilla, it's quite a bit bigger. What's strange is that I really only know this because the IMDb description told me so. The clip of Godzilla being hit by a bomb is literally a couple dozen frames long, and if the characters ever talked about it, I totally missed it. The characters will explode with emotion at the drop of a hat, but fairly substantial plot elements will go by so quickly that I have to look them up later. Here's another example. Do you know why the film is called Godzilla Minus One? I didn't. The title, according to the director, has multiple meanings, explicitly referring to how Godzilla's destruction changed Japan's position from a post-war zero situation to a minus. Was I supposed to figure that out on my own? What the fuck does that mean? I have never heard of a zero situation. Obviously, it doesn't matter and doesn't really affect my ability to enjoy the film, but I just thought it was interesting that Godzilla goes from being maybe 20 feet tall to 160 and it never gets brought up in the story. This deliberately obscure storytelling is an epidemic in Japanese video games as well, but let's try to keep it civil. Anyway, around an hour or so into the movie, Big Godzilla comes back to attack the city where Koichi and Noriko are living, and the film is all gas, no brakes from here out. The effects are awesome. The nuclear breath attack is devastating. The use of sound and silence to emphasize the destruction works really well. Godzilla is made to look like the classic films about a guy in a rubber costume, and frankly, it looks kind of ridiculous the way it lumbers around, but the destruction Godzilla is causing is genuinely felt through the focus on the people rather than the buildings falling apart. Noriko is killed in this attack, which rekindles Koichi's PTSD, and the local Japanese government has to rally the war veterans together to come up with a plan to kill Godzilla. They come up with a good plan that seems like it'll work, but the focus is more on the veterans of World War II being asked to once again fight for their country. It's a great sequence that ties the movie together thematically, where the men of Japan are being given an opportunity to redeem themselves and fight, not for the chance to die for their nation, but to value life for a change. This is framed as a direct criticism of the kamikaze tactics and other at-all-costs practices that characterized the Japanese military strategy in World War II. In the film, this is a thematic continuation of how Koichi feels, the shame cast on him, and also how Noriko doesn't care about any of that. She just wants Koichi to be present in her life. We also see how the older generation of Japanese men feel responsible for the way the war turned out, and feel obligated to handle the Godzilla threat without the help of any younger men who shouldn't have to own the mistakes of their elders. There's kind of a lot going on in the film in the last 45 minutes or so. While the plan is coming together, Koichi enlists the help of the mechanic from the beginning. As a way to repent for his cowardice, Koichi plans to kamikaze Godzilla, abandoning his adoptive child. I kind of don't want to spoil the details of the end, but basically, everyone learns a lesson about the value of life and how they have to work together to rebuild Japan. The last 45 minutes of Godzilla Minus One are really fucking good and well worth sitting through some of the more poorly paced setup. The special effects continue to impress, sound and silence are used creatively for emphasis, and I was genuinely amazed that a Godzilla movie managed to have something to say beyond, maybe people are the real monsters. Godzilla Minus One tells a story of redemption that challenges the shame held by Japanese people in the wake of a brutal war that their government started and eventually conceded. Godzilla gives the characters an outlet to process the complicated emotions of living in that time in history and gives them a way forward to rebuild what they had lost. The Japanese people in the film rebuild their cities, reassemble their lives, clear their coastline and waterways, and finally, have to step back into their decommissioned warships to defend their nation against a monster and reclaim their self-worth. The film wobbles a little getting off the ground, but once it's in the air, it's the best monster movie I've seen since my dad let me watch Aliens when I was too young to be watching Aliens. And here, after writing it all down, I determined what all the fuss was about. I could still do without the adult tantrums, but solidly 9 out of 10. Also, you know why Godzilla's all caked up like that? Because it fucking floats. Godzilla isn't standing on the ocean floor in these scenes. It's floating on its ass and tail. Try not to overthink that.